Have Your Say, Hobsons Bay is a series of stories and experiences of people who live, work and play within the municipality of Hobsons Bay. Let's hear how their lives were changed because of COVID-19.
Have your say, Hobsons Bay.
Hello, my name is Claudie and I'll be the host for our new episode of the Speakers Bank podcast. I will be joined by Nathan and Storm today to talk about the ban of single-use plastic and the impact it has had on people with a disability. So hi guys, how are you today?
We're doing very well.
Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal traditional custodian of the lands upon which we are today and where we all live, work and play in Australia, and to pay my respects to the elders past and present. We also recognise all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples throughout Australia and their continuous connection to both land and waters. So to kick off this podcast, it goes without saying that ecology and climate change have been a big concern and like a growing issue as well in the last decades. And some solutions are being suggested to reduce pollution. And so the single-use plastic ban is one of them. And that ban means that single plastic drinking straws, cutlery, plates, what else? Like drink containers, for example, will be banned from sale or supply. And so, for example, I looked it up, and in Victoria, plastic straws are not quite banned yet, but it will start officially in February 2023. But in New South Wales and ACT, for example, it's actually in June and July of this year. And they've already been banned in other states. I think Nathan, Queensland, they're already banned, like properly banned.
I believe so.
Yeah, and so while like on paper, this is kind of a good initiative for the environment, it is a complication for people with a disability. So would you guys care to explain why it is?
So a fun fact for everyone, did you know that straws were the first sort of like developed thing for people with a disability? It's because sometimes we can't chew and swallow our food. Straws were invented for that. So it wasn't just, too much plastic. It was a device that helped us to drink and eat our food while able-bodied people were able to do it. So yeah, that's a fun fact. And it was developed in a hospital. So it's a very, very important thing, because if it works then, it's going to work now. So that's something that, you've got to keep in mind when you're doing all these sort of like policies. And I think Nathan would agree with this. We're the ones that always get left out of the picture.
Yeah, and the irony that I find with this this ban is that when you look at, for example, how the COVID tests work, they'll ban, plastic straws, takeaway containers, things like that. In fact, I'm looking on the website now, and they've been banned in Queensland from the 1st of September 2021, and yet we, wasted so much more plastic on COVID tests.
Yeah, it's sort of like fitting in an agenda where it's suitable for one thing, but it's not suitable for another thing. Like there's no standard. Like if you're going to ban something, don't just ban it and then say, for example, because it's a COVID test, we'll just unban it.
Yeah,
you can't just do that.
I'm even looking on the Queensland government website here, and I'll quote from it because it says certain businesses are exempt from the ban, and it says that certain businesses continue to supply banned single-use plastic items. I'd be interested, as we do the podcast, I'm actually going to have a look through this list because I have not come across a single restaurant that has ever given a plastic straw. Even 7-Eleven now. I don't know if either of you have ever been to 7-Eleven and had a Slurpee, but they used to do plastic straws. Now they give you these paper straws. It's basically once you get moisture on it from your mouth, it basically collapses.
Yeah, that's what happened with me with Starbucks the other day. I was at Starbucks and I ordered a milkshake, and they got this like little like a paper straw, and when you suck on it, it pretty much just dies down, and you can't enjoy your drink. There's no way. And then what actually happens is, and this is quite funny, I have to get like 2 to 3 of those straws, and it's still not enough. So, and then eventually it's all melted, and then you don't enjoy it.
I mean, what my wife and I came across, I think it was in like one of those $2 shops, is that you can get, they're not the single-use plastic straws, but they're washable plastic straws. So you basically you basically rewash them, and they're the best that you can get. Because when I've had a look at this list, at least as far as Queensland concerned, the only places that are still allowed to use them, and it makes perfect sense, are medical facilities. But the problem with that is they should actually make a loophole in that to say, well, plastic straws can only be given to those with a disability or like a disability or an impairment where a plastic straw would be required. So you basically make them on request only for like the elderly or the disabled.
Yeah, I saw something about that, like in some states or in some restaurants make exceptions, but that means that, people will have to say, I have a disability, and it's a bit like, should you have to do that? Like, why would you disclose your personal medical information just to be able to drink?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that.
I mean, I'll put it to you, but I'll put it to you this way, Claudia. When I walk into, I use the word walk, but when I roll into a restaurant or get wheeled in my wheelchair, I can't hide my disability. And the thing is, I understand that when it comes to like employment or renting or anything like that, but like how can a business make the accommodation for you if they don't know that you need something based on your disability or a medical condition?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was just wondering, Claudia, if you could put up that plastic table and we can go through the different items for those plastic tables.
Yeah. Because there are alternatives to plastic straws, but they're not all good.
Well, let's start with metal, shall we? Metal for me is not a very, very good thing, because if some sort of like what do you call it, germ or some sort of thing that's stuck inside the metal goes down our throat, it could end up being a choking hazard, and we could end up being very, very sick from it.
Yeah, it's hard to sanitize as well.
And it's hard to clean. Very, very hard to clean.
And if you notice that no matter what you drink, it always gives it a very metallic taste.
Ugh. Yeah. You don't want that.
Yeah, and we've talked about paper and the fact that it mushes down a bit.
Yeah, the paper one, it's not long lasting. It's sort of like a short fix, but then it just does the same thing where it just dies out. Glass is an absolute no, because if you drop it, or if you have like a little bit of a break, then you're at a risk of hurting yourself. It could be a cut. It could be you might actually swallow it. So
yeah, and like I think the thing with like the very hard straws, like metal, glass, or even bamboo, that we can talk about a bit later, is that if someone has what is it, like Parkinson or those kind of disabilities that like make you have sudden movements. Like you could easily like put in your roof of your mouth and like be hurt really bad because you just
Definitely.
have that sudden
Yeah.
uncontrollable movement. So they can be very dangerous, I think.
Not only that, but based on what I'm seeing, it seems like, for example, things like, you know, bamboo and I imagine to some degree silicone would get quite expensive after a while of manufacturing them.
Or buying them, like if you're the one buying them too, like you don't want to keep buying those. And even for restaurants and stuff, like it's a big cost.
Yeah, and have you noticed there's a lot of allergy risk to it as well? Like I've just seen all the items and all of them pretty much have an allergy risk. So that's really bad. Like if you don't know your allergies, or if you just assume that that's not an allergy and you take it, there could be serious consequences to your overall health with that too. So yeah, and a lot of them are not perceivable items as well. So that's not good.
Yeah.
And you see here, and everyone listening at home, this is the reason why we need straws, because there's not another invention that's suitable for our needs. So that's the evidence we've got right here, that unless they make something that's better than straws, then we're gonna have to find some way to delegate a way to keep straws. Otherwise, we just can't eat.
And I think also,
and can't drink.
Yeah, with the plastic straws, like there are those ones that you bend, like, you know, the ones that you used to have at Macca's like ages ago, and they were really good. And that's the main reasons why those plastic straws were invented. It's like you can bend them, it's much easier to put into your mouth. Whereas like none of those options, you can't bend them.
No.
So
yeah. And that's the problem with today's society. They want to fix this and they want to fix that, but then they don't come up with a solution for the original problem to make it better for everyone else.
But in what I don't understand is, like, look at your average fast food restaurant. Like, you eliminate plastic straws, great. You've then got, you know, like say, for example, when I go to Costco or McDonald's, they still give you a plastic lid. They still give you a disposable cup. They still, you know, everything in McDonald's or KFC is cardboard, which you throw out. You know, at some point, if they were really serious about it, you'd have to make everything recyclable, which due to health and safety, you can't do. So it's like, what, like it's like, really, I'll be honest with you, like I'm not for, you know, I don't know, peeing in our water supply or dumping toxic waste in a lake. I'm not talking like that. What I'm saying is, it's like, you know, what's the point in banning, you know, plastic bags and plastic straws when we've only probably eliminated 0.1% of the problem? Like, it's not going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. Like I mentioned earlier, during COVID, all of these COVID, you know, tests that are plastic end up in landfill, which is probably just as bad as the amount of plastic bags and disposable cups that we threw out prior to the pandemic.
Well,
and actually have numbers, Nathan. I found that out of the 8 million tons of plastic that are found in the ocean, plastic straws are just 0.025%. That's it. Like, that's nothing. That's less than 1% is plastic straws. Whereas 46% of the plastic is actually from fishing nets, from all that fishing around the world. So it's like, you know, straws don't seem to be the actual issue there.
No, it's not.
I mean,
I think we had a link that actually showed us which consumables are the real issue. For example, I remember reading, it was like those big containers that are just floating around in the oceans, and they just get washed up on the shore, and that was one of the big ones that I read.
Not only that, but I think if you wanted to make this completely sustainable, the only thing that I can think of as a design that would work I don't know if you've seen places now that actually, they can be quite expensive, but the places that do the keep cups now that you can buy, and they've got the straw embedded into the lid, that is the only design. But could you then imagine if, like, say for example, like you can buy one, you know, really, really cheaply at 7-Eleven, but then there are other places like, you know, like cafe, like I can't think of particular cafes, but there's a tea chain that a bubble tea chain that my wife likes to go to. They sell a keep cup, and you know, juice bars sell it, but they will charge like sometimes $25 for that keep cup, and then you've got to remember to bring it every single time. Now, could you then imagine if McDonald's, KFC, you know, Costco, all the different fast food chains then had to, you know, start selling keep cups? Not only would it be very expensive to manufacture, but you would eventually, you know, lose business. So there was no point banning the plastic straw if it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't make a dent in the problem.
No, no. But there are some other solutions to maintaining those non-straw stuff. I can't remember exactly the name, but there are some other alternatives. Porcelain was mentioned. I think that was one that was mentioned. I don't quite remember the name, but they're an actual good substitute to the actual straw debate, because that's more of a healthier option for treating our climate problem with the plastics.
Is porcelain not extremely breakable though?
Yeah.
I don't know, but from what I read, that's one of the other alternatives you can use that are more recyclable, and they're more better for the environment going forward. But I'm not sure if they're more breakable or not.
Because even when I was so I was just going to say, because when I think of mugs and porcelain, and you know, I don't know, the material escapes me now that a mug's made out of, but yeah, porcelain and that kind of stuff, that gets really hot as well.
Yeah. So while people are debating over straws, we need to look at the wider picture and go, are there better alternatives to our problem than just straws? Because like what Clody just said, it's a very, very small amount. So the actual problem isn't actually the straws itself.
Yeah, I think, they were created for a certain purpose. They were created in hospitals for people who needed it. And I think there are some other plastic material based stuff that we probably could not, like, we don't need to use them. I know, like, for example, a lot of my friends, you know, those Tupperwares, like those containers that are in plastic, a lot of people are now using glass ones because they're much easier to wash and you can put them in the microwave and all of that. So like that kind of things, like very simple. We can start, you know, rather than just straws. Why straws? Why focusing on this?
I mean, not only that, but like when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's like if you're going to tell one sector of society, oh well, you can't have something that clearly suits you, why don't we tell, you know, people that, you know, are dependent on things like soft drink, alcohols, tobacco, oh well, you have to use, you know, I don't know, I'll just make it up, but like you can only have your alcohol in, you know, a glass bottle. You can only have, you know, e-cigarettes that you've constantly got to, you know, charge up and, you know, reuse. You know, why not just, you know, make it across the board? Okay, everyone has, you know, we're not going to sell, you know, cans anymore. We're just going to sell glass bottles, because the thing is, when you sell, for example, even an aluminium can, for example, that still has to get, you know, recycled and melted down, where with a glass bottle, I believe that the process is slightly easier, because even with a Coke factory, I think in Spain, what they basically did was, for anyone who recycled it, they not only did the container for change things, but they would basically rewash the entire glass, sterilize it, and then rebottle it again, and then ship it back out.
Yeah, I know in certain countries, when you bring back your bottles, you get paid. Like I think it's
Yeah.
in Norway and that kind of stuff. So it's really good. Like it encourages people to even recycle more.
Yeah, my wife and I did the container, tried to do the container for change things once, but we would saved up all these, you know, big glass bottles, and then we got to the container for change place, and there was a sign that said, "Oh, we only take this size bottle, can't be of this material," and we thought, what's the point? Like,
Yeah. But can you guys think of other ways that we can help reduce like plastic in the ocean, for example, like rather than, you know, stop using straws completely? I mean, people who can stop using plastic straws absolutely should.
yeah,
You know, you don't need a straw to drink if you don't have
yeah,
specific needs for it. So like if you can not use a straw, don't use a
yeah.
straw and leave
Well,
it.
one of the ways that I thought would be really, really good, I'm already doing this now, is using those new shopping bags that are available. That's one of the ways that we can reduce the amount of plastics. So that's really good, but we need to get that message across that these shopping bags are not just there for display. You actually got to use them, and I don't think people are using them enough. And they're still trying to get, you know, what's the actual? I think it was like an extra like 30 cents or another plastic bag or something. Don't sell the plastic bags. Just don't sell them. Just say, okay, we don't have any in stock, and just say, look, you got shopping bags there. You pay for the actual shopping bag,
Yeah,
and then that's it. That's one of the ways we can reduce those. And another way of reducing it is putting the consumables in the bin. It's so simple. Just put it in the bin. Don't just leave it on the ground and let it just float into outer space.
I was just gonna say, I think number one, what you need to do is you need to tweak the legislation across Australia to say, to allow restaurants to have the option of saying, unless you have, you know, a disability or a medical need that where you require a, you know, plastic straw, like a disposable plastic straw, they'll only be given upon request, which I think would be fair. Number two, then I think what you need to do if you're the government, but you know, this would require logic, is you would actually go, okay, what are the biggest things that, you know, get stuck in the ocean? It's like you mentioned before, like things like plastic bags, fishing nets, the netting that holds slabs of soft drinks and things together in the box. They should definitely eliminate, you know, those before they go to the ban like plastic straws and things, because I think it's one thing to ban a plastic bag. It's another thing altogether to ban a plastic straw that's, you know, a disposable straw that people, you know, legitimately need. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone to go to a restaurant and have the cardboard straws get wet from the moisture around my mouth and collapse to the point where they're no longer functional. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
before
sorry, Nathan, go on.
I was just going to say, before I bought my Keep Cup at 7-Eleven, my wife we used to have to either bring our own straws from home, or we used to have to take 2 or 3 spare straws so that I could drink my Slurpee. Look, like it just doesn't make, you know, any sense that you would eliminate the one thing that is probably, you know, the least, you know, is contributing the least to, you know, environmental waste. And like I said to you before, the biggest irony I find is that during COVID, and understandably so, all the COVID tests were made of plastic. and yet, you know, a year or two prior, we banned plastic straws.
Well, you know, I've just been on this website, and then there's so many umbrellas to plastic. Like there's plastic coffee cups, there's plastic plates. When we're saying plastic straws, if they're banning that, that means that the actual plastic itself has to be banned too. You can't just identify one
Yeah.
particular thing and go, okay, we're going to ban plastic straws. It means banning plastic is banning the whole thing, because otherwise it
No.
wouldn't be fair. Yeah, that's not
No.
justifying the rule. And I've just seen a couple of solutions to some of these straws. Silicone straws might be a solution for some. There's even eco-friendly paper straws. But
Yeah, there are some, and I wanted to talk to you about it. I met a few people at like a dinner the other day, and they are creating plant-based straws that are like bendable and stuff, and it's like brand new. Like they're trying to get into the industry and selling it to restaurants and stuff, but they're like Victorian based, very small. But that could be like the start of, you know.
I think that's the actual solution to the actual problem. I think we need to get
But
that.
there's still a risk of allergies sometimes
Oh,
because they're
yeah.
plant-based, but like
Yeah.
that could be a good way to start. Like it shows that they are actually, you know, trying to do
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could,
But having said that, Cody, you could actually have different types of
yeah,
plant-based straws. So if someone is allergic to a particular type of plant, yeah, they can just swap it out for another one. So
yeah.
that could be another solution for them. But I'm really excited at the possibility of getting these plant-based straws, because everyone can complain the environment this, the environment that, and then we get left out in the cold.
Yeah.
And so that could be a way to just silence them a bit and then move on to the next topic that they're.
Yeah.
angry.
I'm just looking at their website, and it looks like they are doing also sugarcane straws,
Yes,
wheat straws. So they have different, bamboo straws, but we talked about those.
And I think the biggest mistake was that I don't know if you know about an ABC series that kind of, I don't know if I'd say they started this whole movement, but they definitely brought it to light. ABC did a series a couple of years ago called the War on Waste, and basically it's what brought all this to light. But the problem that I found looking back with the show is they only presented, like we've referenced many times before, they only, you know, presented 0.1% of the problem. I think what the government should have done is gone back and gone, okay, out of all the, you know, pollutants that we can, you know, minimize or eliminate, what is the most to least contributing, and then work their way down very slowly and very slowly phase out things. Because when you think about people that have sensory issues or have like autism, if you change something, you know, too quickly, it's like, and my wife would even tell you with me, if too many changes, you know, take place in my life too fast, I become overwhelmed. So if you say to someone, you know, one day, you know, you can't have a plastic straw and that's all they've ever known, it could also, you know, set them off. It creates, you know, issues that go beyond, you know, just a person's preference.
Yeah, and that's where the OTs are going to have to come into play and actually come up with a solution to the problem, because there's not going to be people out there that are going to go, oh, we can use plant-based, you know, friendly stuff.
Yeah.
They would not be able to research these type of things. I'm not talking about everyone with a disability, just some of us in the population.
Yeah. And the reason I keep going outside the issues to reference other things is because I think there's a bit of hypocrisy to say, okay, we'll ban, you know, plastic straws and bags. I mean, bags and things, which is fine, because those plastic bags are flimsy and ill-designed anyway. But it's another thing to go, okay, like for example, when I watched ABC's War on Waste a couple of years ago, they were saying that, you know, the lids on your disposable coffee cups, they're not recyclable. So even though the cup itself is, they interviewed a guy, a worker at a recycling plant, who said these plastic lids aren't actually recyclable. So we have to take them off anyway and chuck them away and just recycle the cup.
Well, that begs the question: why make the stuff that they can't recyclable? They can't recycle the stuff. Sorry, it just doesn't make any sense, because one, you're wasting money for the economy, and number two, you're not saving the environment that way. So yeah, I don't understand that.
Not only that, but this is just to get you thinking about the logic here, right? I'm all for, you know, where we can, you know, if the government wants to say, you know, phase out, you know, coal and go to green power, I'm all for that, in the sense that I don't believe that we should do any unnecessary damage to, you know, the earth, and we should, you know, possibly eliminate things where we can, of course. But at the same time too, they were talking on Four Corners a couple of weeks ago about the fact that, you know, what, you know, the people in like environmental activists and things need to realize is that when you want to go over to, say, green power, right, we still have to mine in order to get the material that makes our computers, our laptops, our iPhones, and things like that. And a lot of these groups don't like mining, but they've got to realize, in order to even make all these, you know, reusable products, we still have to, you know, mine for the materials.
Yeah, it's a big issue. No, and I agree.
And the only reason that I mention that is because in amongst all this recycling stuff, they always say we want to get to, you know, net, you know, zero emissions by 2050. But the reality is, I think with the fact that, you know, manufacturing, you know, materials in itself is always going to release, you know, pollutants, you're probably never going to completely get to net zero. In order to do that, you would have to actually wipe humanity off the planet, because when you breathe out carbon dioxide.
But I do think if we can limit more of the damage that we've already done, it will help.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, you absolutely can reduce it. I just wish they would say, let's reduce it. Let's what I'm saying is, I don't think they should go for a goal that's like unattainable. It's like it's like when they say, okay, we can eliminate plastic straws, but nobody looked at the consequence. Okay, what happens after I do that? What's the knock-on effect of that?
Just before we finish that episode, I just wanted to ask you a question to both of you. What do you do to be more environmentally friendly in your daily life, guys? So Storm, you talked a bit about the plastic that you've
I
plastic
talk,
bags.
I like using the plastic the shopping bags. So we use that a lot. I like to use the recycle stuff from the gardens and all that sort of stuff. So that's really, really good, and I actually recommend everyone to use that, because you actually get more benefit. It actually helps the nature out there as well, not just your in-house sort of like stuff. So it's been really, really good. And the other things I like to use that's not like very, very a problematic issue is I like to use clothes that are not like very, very plastic friendly. So I like to use different brands that I know that aren't plastic. So
they're more eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly. Yeah. So I've been getting to that sort of stuff at the moment. I haven't got much on at the moment, but I am in the process of getting more eco-friendly clothing. So for example, getting more sheep clothing, because it's wool, it's not plastic. So that's also very, very good. And I'm in the process of doing that. So it's been good. It's been challenging though, because there's not many around. So yeah.
Good on you. That's good. And buying clothes in the op shops as well. Second hand.
Yes. Yes.
What about
And
you,
buying
Nathan?
and,
Oh,
and
sorry.
also buying Australian products that are plastic friendly too. That also helps.
And also because they're Australian, you don't have to like all that, the fuel and all of those
Yeah.
kind of things into importing the product of, yeah, definitely better for the environment too. Without even talking about plastic, like just environmentally friendly.
Yeah. Yep.
What about you, Nathan?
I think it comes down to, you know, things that are common sense, like, you know, and not just for economical reasons, but, you know, don't, you know, use more water in the shower than you need to. Like if you're, you know, you get down to business, you know, you scrub yourself down, you do everything you need to do. You don't sit there for, you know, 40 minutes, you know, relaxing and then, you know, get out. You just do what you got to do, and like don't use more water than you need to. And you know, it's simple things like, you know, when you walk out of a room, switch off a light switch. Not only does it, you know, use up, you know, less energy, but it's less, you know, money that you have to waste on a power bill. You know,
Yeah.
it's even, you know, basic things like don't I don't like say for example, you know, don't litter. You know, make sure that you don't, you know, don't waste food, you know, because that all takes, you know, that can all end up in the garbage. You know, like I said, with war on waste, they even did a thing, and this is a bit of a fun fact, where I don't know if you've seen in supermarkets, you know, like the odd bunch kind of stuff. Manufacturers and suppliers of like Coles and Woolies and stuff were actually having to throw away perfectly good fruit because it didn't look a certain way, and there was so much food waste. So it's like just simple things like don't waste food, you know, make sure you do some recycling, don't, you know, litter and just throw something on the ground.
Simple things that everyone can do, really.
Yeah, and always
Yeah.
when you're not using something, always turn the power off. That's so
Yeah.
basic. It's just
And
Yeah.
even just cars, like, you know, if you can not use your car, or if you can carpool, like, you know, if you're working or like going with your friends to a certain place, like why not just use one car instead of three, you know, or like that
Yeah,
kind of
I know.
stuff too.
Yeah.
All right. I think that concludes this podcast, unless any one of you wants to add anything.
I'm good.
Yeah, just keep life simple. Don't overcomplicate it, and always think about what you're going to be doing with the item that you've got, and whether or not.
Yeah. And think about the others, like it might not impact you, but it's impacting other people as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, see you guys later.
Bye bye, everyone.
See you later.